that I'm sure you can't show everybody, but this goes back to 9/11. We don't want to go to John Kennedy yet, because what you have to say about 9/11, there's a photograph of one of the towers, and after the plane hits it, I don't know what the time span is there, but eventually...
That's when it's alleged to be collapsing. It's an hour or two after it was struck.
But Jesse is a detonation specialist. What was your specialty?
Well, I'm a member of the Navy Underwater Demolition SEAL team, and we know how to blow things up.
All right, so in this particular photograph, what do you suggest?
Well, in the photograph, I carry it in my wallet, and it's a photograph of one of the towers as it collapses. And when I professionally look at that photo, that is not a collapse, that's an explosion. It's not collapsing, it's exploding.
You're saying the building was wired, or what do you suggest?
Yeah, I'm saying that they were brought down. We also, when I did my show, we have a tape that the BBC wouldn't allow us to use. And it's a reporter talking back to England, London. She talks for 7.5 minutes about a third building that has fallen. We all know World Trade. Well, many of you maybe don't know. A third building went down that day. World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed that afternoon. It was not struck by a plane, and it went down 49 stories in 7 seconds. That's as fast as I used to free fall when I jumped from an airplane. Now, basic physics tells you when a moving object collapses or hits one that's not moving, it's going to slow down. How does something slow down when it collapses in 7 seconds? It collapsed at free fall speed. Well, she goes on for 7.5 minutes and then ends it. Well, the problem was this. On the tape, there's what time it is. It's at 4:50 in the afternoon. And while she does this whole 7.5 minute report, Building 7's right behind her. It hasn't collapsed yet. It collapsed at 5:20, 30 minutes later. We wanted to know, who told you it collapsed 30 minutes before it did? Does anyone like me find that a bit intriguing? How could someone report on a collapsed building before it collapses without someone knowing it's going to? And how would they know it was going to? This building wasn't struck by a plane. This building's the farthest one out in the World Trade Center complex. Other buildings were damaged 10 times worse. They didn't collapse. Yet this one went down in 7 seconds. Well, here's a gentleman going, I never knew that. And that's the problem. Everybody here, what they know about 9/11, they know from soundbite media and what the government's told you. I've been studying it now for 3 years. And there's a lot more to it than what soundbite news has told you about.
How are they able to keep all this quiet?
Well, who's going to admit it? Somebody wants to admit to first-degree murder? Or participating or having knowledge of? Remember, if you're a conspirator, it doesn't mean you have to pull the trigger. It means you know about it and you're as guilty as the guy who does pull the trigger. And so, who's going to come forward and say, well, yeah, I was part of that? Well, it's not going to happen. But if you apply a little common sense, use a little logic, and take your emotions out of it, and look at it from a logical, unemotional position, well, I'll give you another quick example. How many are aware of the Huffington Post? Well, the Huffington Post, Ariana had been on my case for 2 years to contribute. So I finally did. I wrote an article for it, and within 2 hours, they printed it and posted it for 2 hours, then they removed it. And they censored me. The Huffington Post censored me because they said we don't do conspiracy theories. Well, what I wrote about was not a conspiracy theory. What I wrote about was something mainstream media failed to cover. And that was that in San Francisco, I believe it was 1,000 to 2,000 architects and engineers signed a petition demanding for a new investigation of 9/11 because these architects and engineers stated unequivocally the building could not come down the way they told us. Now, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's an event that took place in San Francisco. Why should I be censored over something that happened? So that's what you deal with.
Where did the censoring come from, do you think?
Well,
Who
whoever
censored
runs
you?
the Huffington Post. I
No,
don't
somebody
know.
bigger than that.
I haven't written for them since, and wait till I run into Ariana the next time.
Let's go to...